This is Getting Past It, where real life meets real growth. I'm JR, and in 10 minutes or less, we're tackling thoughts, habits, and truths that hold us back. Let's get past it together.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Getting Past It, the podcast. It's episode 22. It's Fueled Up Friday, so get that energy up. Today, we are going to be talking about the power of starting over. Turn your reset into a comeback. Starting over is often leveling up. It's growth in disguise. A lot of times, it can be nerve-wracking, you can be uneasy, it can be uncomfortable. But when you start over, in a lot of situations, you get so much better. If you do the work to understand your prior missteps. You got to drop the ego and understand that clinging to old wins are going to keep you, in a lot of cases, from new ones, from bigger ones. Because if you keep thinking about what you did to get that prior win versus how you can improve, you're going to stay in the same space, right? And so, yes, you got that win. Take the good things, but there's also probably some things in there that you caught the win, but you got it in spite of some of those things, right? So how can we get better? How can we improve on those things that might not have been all the way tied up? We might not have crossed all our T's and dotted all our I's. There are some lessons in the win. How do we get past our ego of just seeing the victory and go find those lessons so we can still improve? This is your comeback story. Think about people who've had to start over before you. So I went and I started, researching, and I had some stories in my mind already, but I was trying to think about who had some public restarts that changed everything. And one of the first people that popped up was Steve Jobs. The fact that he was fired from Apple in 1985, and then he did a few different things and came back to Apple in 1997. And think about how when he came back to Apple, what Apple became at that point. How he changed the trajectory of that company. How he, I'm going to say more than likely, took a step back and understood some of his missteps in the past, and he improved and got better and he grew. And when he came back, he was innovative, he was energized, he was ready to go. And think about who Apple is today. I mean, he basically came back and put together a product that is taking over the world. We have Samsung people or others who use different phones, but Apple has become the standard when it comes to phones, sometimes laptops, tablets, those types of things. Most people run to Apple. And that was a restart for Steve Jobs. Think about Oprah. She was fired from her first TV news anchor job. Didn't fit the part. And think about who Oprah is today and who she became. Regardless of how you feel about her, right? She has done tons of things. The impact that she's had with her TV show, with her philanthropy, and just all of those different things, and how she's viewed today, right? The impact that she's had. But had she allowed that first thing to stop her growth, she wouldn't be who she was. But she started over and she came back. Think about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, polarizing boxer, right? But always had these stories that swirled around. Seen some of the interviews where he might have gone off on somebody. But then when I listen to Mike Tyson today, his interviews, the things he's talking about, he has so much more positive energy about himself. But then he also tells you from his own mouth some of his missteps in the past and how he's grown from that, how he treats people better, right? The way he looks at life. It's night and day. He is beloved. We always loved him as a boxer, but now just think about how people think of him as a human. He had to start over, rebrand, and he came back. And when you're genuine in your comeback and people can feel that energy and that it's coming from a positive place and that you're not just putting on a front, but this is who you have become, most people will accept that, right? There's a level of grace when you're being transparent, when you're being open, and when you've identified some things that might not have been the greatest about yourself or some things you had to work on, and you went and you worked on them. You went and you got past it. You got better. I can remember when times were super tough. And I used to be very risk adverse. So, I would call myself analyzing something and run it into a ground to where I wouldn't do it. And so I literally left everything behind, moved to a whole nother state, and started from scratch. And that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. And the reason for that was because I was able to reflect on the past and the missteps in the past and the things that held me back in the way I got in my own way. And I told myself I wasn't going to do that again. I wasn't going to allow me to get in the way of my growth. And so I was intentional in my comeback. I was more open to challenges, more accepting of challenges. Instead of running away from things, I ran to things. I focused more. I knew when I needed to isolate myself to focus on a certain thing. So I was able to tell my family, hey, I got to move over here because I need to focus on this for us. And they were gracious enough to give me that space. And from those things, me taking that step back and starting over, I'm still not where I want to be, but man, I am light years ahead of where I was. Significantly. But that took me not being afraid to start over. Starting over can sometimes be hard. It can be scary. And sometimes people get forced into starting over. They don't do it on their own. But if you think about people who have started over that even if they were forced, if they put the work in most cases, they're in better places today than they were before. I know several people like that who worked in corporate America, lost that corporate America job, had hopes and dreams of being an entrepreneur, and when they lost that job, it pushed them into that thing. And so they went full force at that thing. They took what they learned in their other role. They paid attention to the missteps that they had, missteps they might have seen the organization have, and thought about how they could do it differently and do it better. And they went and built something that has now propelled them to a completely different place. So I want you to stop being afraid. If there's something you need to start over, start today. Hey, it's Getting Past It, the podcast. It's Fueled Up Friday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope to see you on Tough Truth Tuesday. I'm your host, JR. Peace.